Hey guys, welcome back to another video. Spence and Marissa here with Core 4x4. We're back at it again on our XJ series over here, and we are doing rear fender flares today.
And I'm excited to finally get the back fender flares on. Last week we did the front flares, and it really gave us some more up travel around the wheel well here. We're gonna do the same thing to the rear. It's a very similar install, so if you missed the front, check out this one. A little bit of cutting, a little bit of drilling, and really that's it.
Yeah.
So let's get the wheel off and we'll talk about the install. Now we did the Bushwhacker flat flare kit that came with all 4 fender flares, but for the rear, you have your rear flares, your rear fender supports, and then you're gonna need some screwdrivers, some sort of marking tool, whether it be a marker or some sort of scratch-all, a small socket set, a hammer, a tape measure, some safety glasses, some rattle can to touch up for any rust, a drill with drill bits, and you're gonna want a grinder with a cutoff wheel to do all your trimming. So the first step before we can mock up any of our fender flare supports is we need to trim just a little bit of the fender here to give us some room to work with. Now you are gonna leave all your factory holes intact, except for this big one right here. You're gonna cut right through that, and you're gonna follow this body line all the way around. Now they say to mark it out, but if you're good enough with the angle grinder, you can just follow this crease and get your first cut done. So now that we got our first little bit of trimming done, we're gonna mark our guidelines for our fender flare supports. Now on the front portion of the fender here, if you have a 4-door model, you're gonna go 3/8 of an inch on each of these corners from the inside of this door jamb right here to give you a reference guide for that front fender flare support. Now for the rear fender flare support, you're just using this bottom body line. And from the back of the Jeep, you're pulling 11 3/8 inches, and that's gonna give you the reference guide to line up your support. Now our horizontal cuts to fold in the fender are gonna start about 3 inches above this body line here. And then we're gonna do horizontal cuts about 1.5 inches apart all the way down to the bottom. And then we're gonna just cut this top section out. Should probably wear safety glasses. So on the top 2 holes, we're using a 7/64 drill bit, and on these bottom 2 holes, you're gonna use a 1/4 inch bit. So we've gotten all our cutting done. We also drilled our holes and folded in the flares, and I just threw a little rattle can on just to keep it from rusting right away. While that dries, we're gonna move to the other side and get it to a similar point. So now that we have our prep work done on both sides, we're finally ready to start bolting these things on. Now, unlike the front, we are going to use something a little different on this small hole that we drilled up top on both sides. The kit does come with a screw and a spacer to use on these small holes when mounting your fender flare support. Now, for the remaining factory holes and this 1/4 inch hole we drilled down here, you're just going to use the nuts and bolts supplied. And one last thing, before we bolt the fender supports on, you need to install your speed clips or nut tabs here on your fender support so you have something to bolt your fender flares to. All right, so I did get ahead of myself a little bit. On the 2 lower holes on each of your fenders, you're gonna use this little tough lock, is what they call it in the kit, because there's no access to the backside of the hole as it's inside the body. Let me know if that front one tucks. All right, so do we need a bump stop?
Yeah, fender on this one.
Dang it. So we're gonna have to bump stop a little more. So before the back was tucked completely and now we got all this extra room.
All right, so that wraps it up for our rear fender flare install. And our flex test went pretty well. How do you think she did?
A lot better. We definitely still need to bump stop the front. I mean, we
Yeah.
were hitting, but we had a lot more up travel, which is exactly what we were going for with the fender flare install. The rear was great. I mean, we still had
Yeah.
like a full 1.5 inches of clearance around the tire when flexing out. So
Yeah.
bump stops for the front, and geez, the Jeep is almost done.
I know, it's
mean-
come a long ways.
Yeah, yeah.
Holy moly.
So next week, we just got this in. We will be showing you what bumper we picked for the rear, and we'll be highlighting that and showing you how to install it.
Yeah.
And then after that, we just got like wheels and tires and
Yeah.
some interior work and cleaning it up.
Yeah, it's pretty dirty right now.
She's dirty on the inside. She looks good underneath, and on the outside, well, maybe not. She needs a wash.
Dirty
But
inside and out.
we're gonna take her on the trails and we're gonna do a bit of a run because
She deserves it.
Yeah,
She's
that's
been through a lot.
the whole reason we're building this thing. Thank you everyone for watching. Stay tuned next week for when we do the rear bumper. And if you like our content, please like, comment, and subscribe.
Yeah.
That really helps us out. And we'll see you in the next one. That front, oh my gosh. For that front fender flare support. Fender flare for flat fender flare kit. Jeez, that's a lot of F's. Flat fender flare, flat, 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 flat. And we've even folded in the edges of the flare. Oh, okay. I guess we can talk about that later. Okay, hold on. Let me do that again. Why do I have this open?